All right, welcome back. Adepticon is just around the corner, and I'm getting pretty excited for it. I'm going to be playing in the doubles and the singles event there, although I'm not going to do the 2-day singles. I've decided I'm going to play in a different game on Saturday, so I'm either going to have to lose or drop if I make top 8, which I'll probably just not make top 8 would be my guess. There's a lot of really good players going to that event. I made the decision early on that I wasn't going to do both days just because I want to try some other stuff at Adepticon. But I also really wanted to play singles. I haven't really played in a singles event for a while. I played doubles at Gen Con with my buddy Jarris. I played in my buddy Jamie's narrative kind of casual event in the fall, and then at KSAG I helped run the event. So I haven't really played like a competitive singles event in quite a while. A lot of pickup games and things like that. So I'm gonna shoot for the singles. My doubles event, me and Jamie are gonna be running a Word of Blake / Comstar build. I'll probably do a video on doubles and that list after the event, just because I don't have a picture of Jamie's force. I like to get a picture of them side by side for the screen and kind of give you a really solid breakdown of how doubles works and how that force did. So I've got another singles list here for you. It's a Capellan clan invasion era list. And the reason I went with Capellans is I've been playing in the last year a lot of Word of Blake, a lot of white mechs, and I kind of wanted a break from them and a break from focusing on that. I know that might disappoint some of you out there who love the Word of Blake kind of meme that follows me around. I will have lots of Word of Blake and Comstar swag there at the event, which I'm excited to do. Me and Jamie are doing kind of a Word of Blake Comstar cosplay where Jamie's going to be the Comstar secular guy, and I'm going to be the Word of Blake religious guy. And the clan invasion, we were forced to work together to go collect on delinquent phone bills, as it was. So I went to my second favorite bad guy from the universe, and that's the Capellans, although I don't think the Capellans are that bad, right, guys? They're not that bad. And so I built this list up. I wanted to play around with a couple ideas that I had and been kicking around for a while. And I actually really like this list. I think the Capellans, their unit selection is different enough because they have some pretty unique mechs available to themselves, especially in Clan Invasion, that others don't get. And I think that there's a couple of like hidden gems in this list, and I'm really excited to try this out in a competitive setting. So this list has got 13 units, which is quite a few units, and it totals 346 points. And the theme I picked with this was TMM 10 or TMM 2 mechs that move 10 and dish 5 damage out at medium range. So a lot of the skirmisher mechs that I run and I like to run have at least 3 damage. They're in that like mid to low 30s points. These mechs are all in like the mid 40s because they're dishing that 5 at medium range. I wanted to see if I could how well I could run a list that kind of got the firepower up using this theme. Now, part of the trade-off is that when we get into the 250s, you'll see this is that the total HP kind of takes a hit, and you're bringing 3 or 4 extra shots at medium range. But you were able to put a lot of shots down range, and I think that's gonna be the kind of the strength of this list. Is going to lean a little more into shooting and a little less into health, but I'm going to try to keep that mobility up. Of my 5 main mechs, 4 of them are speed 10, which I really like, and pretty much all of them, with the exception of one, are health. Their HP is 10 as well, which is pretty good. There's a lot of interesting things that the Capellans can bring, when it comes to list building, and we'll kind of go over those as I read through the list. But I'm really excited to try this out and see how it does. And if it does well, it'll be awesome. And if it doesn't, I'll let you guys know. And you could just put that in your note that this is not a good build because you are putting quite a few more points into these skirmisher mechs that cost, they cost 10 more points than 10, 15 more points than some of those other skirmishers that I like to run. But you are getting extra shots, right? Like these are getting 5 damage at medium instead of 3. They're just costing 46, 45, 42, 44 points instead of 30 to 33 points, right? So your per mech is a lot more. You're spending a lot more per point of health right? Because the point value is so much higher, but you're still hanging out around that 10 HP. So just real quick overview of the list. I've got a Black Hawk KU BHKU0, a Charger 3K, a Thunderer 1L, a Jin Gao G8A, and I don't like the Jin Gao model. I know I've done a model review of this, and so I converted my own up using the Jin Gao weapons from the Ironwind Metals, and then put it on a Mad Cat. So you'll see that in there. I think it turned out really good. It looks very similar to the really nice 3D printed one. An Orion 1MA, a Partisan refit, a Drillson with SRMs, 2 MGJ Edgars, a Martin Scout VTOL, Tunnel Rat mining exoskeleton, 2 snipers, and 2 Swift Wind scout cars. So this list is, there's a lot to it, but as you can see, there are a lot of really cheap units in there. I've got that exoskeleton, the 2 snipers, and the Swift Wind are all less than 5 points. And then it's got, 5 vehicles and then 5 mechs. So you'll notice in here, I don't have light mechs. I don't have those like 30-point skirmisher mechs. I don't have like the really high-end, high body assault mechs. It's all these heavy mechs, with the exception of the Charger, which is an assault, in that like mid 40s point. And like I said, it does lack a little bit. Those mechs do lack a little bit of body for the points you're spending, but I'm hoping they make up for it in their TMM and their medium range damage. So let's go through each one of these and just kind of quickly break down each one of these unit options. So the Blackhawk KU, it's a 46-point mech, size 3, TMM of 2, 10 jump, which I like. It's got the jump. In fact, all of my kind of bigger 40-point mechs and my TMM 2 mechs, with the exception of Thunder, have jump, which I really like. It's a 7-3 armor structure with a 6-5 damage output with an OV1. So I like it because it is armor forward, at least. So it's going to be a little more crit resistant. It also has energy weapons and is Omni, which is going to be key later on when we talk about another unit. The Charger is 45 points, so it's 1 point less. It's 4.52, so it's a little long range shot, which I don't really care about. It has a short range of 4, which is less than that Blackhawk. No overheat. And then it's a 6.4. So again, not quite as armor forward as the Blackhawk, but it's still armor forward. And it has case and IF. And it is also 10 jump. So it's armor forward. It's got case, so it's also a little more crit resistant. So we like that. The Thunderer 1L. So you notice on the Thunderer, I do not have the standard gun that the Thunderer comes with. I replaced that with, I believe it was the Metal Devastator gun. I hate that Thunderer with that whatever gun that comes on it. I just think it looks silly. I don't understand why the artist did that, but I think this looks really good. So for what it's worth, 44 points, Team M2, movement 10. It does not have jump, but it is 5.5, which is pretty solid. And then it is also armor forward at 7 with a structure of 3, and it has case. So it is crit resistance and it's armor forward, which we love. It is IF 0-star, which we will not use during the game. The Jingao, it's 42 points. So this is the most, I guess you could say, cost-effective of these 4 mechs of this Lance. It is also a TMM of 2 with a 10 jump, which we like. It is a 4.52. So you'll see some of these mechs, they lose out a little bit at that short range. It is armor forward with 6 armor and 3 structure. So it is actually where you're saving money here is that it doesn't have case, it doesn't have energy weapons, and it loses 1 point of structure. But there are some lists that it gets itself into because it is just a couple points cheaper than these other mechs. We move on to our Orion, which is a little bit slower. It is only a team of 1 and a movement of 8 and is 39 points, but we took it because it is 4.53. It is also armor forward 7.3, and it has case, so it is crit resistance. Armor forward, case. See the theme here? We want armor forward, and we like case or energy. The reason we're bringing this Orion, though, is because it has flak 111. So it helped me sneak a little bit of flak in there, and it still maintains that armor 5. So in a game, I would run the other ones forward as skirmishers, and then I would have the Orion move up as a support mech, providing covering fire for flak, and then moving up behind the other mechs at a kind of a slower rate, but then providing fire as well as we engage targets at medium range. It also has a long range of 3, which I know my skill is only 4, so I'm not really counting on them, but at least I have a little bit of volume of fire with that thing. And as you can see here, it's sub 40 points for 5 shots, which is pretty nice. In fact, all these things are very point efficient. That Jingao at 42 points with a medium range damage of 5 is like super good, but all of them are sub 10 points per shot. So just in those 5 units, my list has got 25 points of damage that it's doing. I did a partisan refit. Partisan's great. It's so amazing. It's a better Shrek PPC carrier, essentially. 28 points for a skill 3 at 333. So it's got solid long range output with that skill 3. It's going to be moving up into a spot, going stationary, and taking headshots out. It is a 3 armor, 4 structure. And the other thing we like about this over the Shrek is what? It has flak 111 in addition to a turret, which is pretty awesome. But we mostly love that flak that gets to be included in our list that the Shrek does not have. All right, so we move into our support units. We have a Drillson Heavy Hover, 27 points, 3-2, move of 18. I took this over the Maxim because I get the extra 2 inches of movement. It's a size 2, which we like because on things like King of the Hill, that weight is going to make a difference. It's 3-3 for armor structure, and it is turreted. So we like this thing. It's got a little more move than your standard TMM3 hovercraft, which usually sit around 16. But again, does not have the ability to transport, which you'll see later on as we do these other units. Is not going to really matter. I got 2 J. Edgar machine gun variants, 24 points, 4 TMM at a speed of 22, 2-1, 3 armor, 2 structure with a turret. We love these things because they're so fast. These are going to be key units for grabbing objectives, especially in Capture the Flag. We've got a Martin Scout VTOL, and this Martin Scout VTOL is a 11-point unit. It's a TMM of 4, a movement of 26. It has 1 armor, 1 structure. It has an infantry transport of 3, and energy weapons for what it's worth. Even though it doesn't have guns, it has energy, and essentially it can't be ammo hitted, right? This thing's super fast. We'll probably use it in some lists to grab objectives and maybe even transport some infantry. We have 2 Swiftwind Scout cars. They are 3 points apiece because I made them skill 6, and we did that because there's no guns on it. And so we just cut 2 points, save 4 points across to the list, which makes a huge difference in when we build our 250s, being able to, get units, get under that 250 and get max out of your units is really big. So TMM4 is no joke, 22 movement of wield. It only has 1 structure. Its cargo transport is 3. So in the WolfNet format, that means its infantry transport is 1.5. And it does have energy weapons, which would never matter because it only can take 1 hit. So every hit is a critical hit, and every hit is a headshot on a Swiftwind Scout card. And this is the ice speed variant. So that's the internal combustion injured with speed. So we have 3 infantry options. They are not very survivable, but we took them because their cargo capacity is very low or they're mechanized. So we've got 2 snipers. They're 3 points apiece because they're skill 5. They're 0-0 with 1 structure. They have LMAS, which helps them hide, gets their defense up a little bit if they're not moving. And they are cargo 1, which means they can ride in a Swiftwind Scout car moving 22. So those Swiftwind Scout cars, watch out for them in bunkers because they're going to be our strike teams, moving snipers in with demo charges to blow up bunkers. And then the last unit we used, I wanted to try this out because I think it's low-key, sneaky good, potentially. And that's a Tunnel Rat 2 mining exoskeleton with industrial drill. It's 4 points for skill 5. It's 0-0 with 2 structure, but what we like about it is it's anti-mech and it's mechanized. And remember what I said about that Blackhawk, it is Omni. So guess where that mining mech or that mining exoskeleton suit's going to be riding? That's right, on that Blackhawk. So we're going to try to use the Blackhawk to transport that into either into a bunker or get it onto objective, have it bail out, and then anti-mech attack anything that gets close by. So that is the overview of the list. I really like it. It brings 2 units of flak, which I really like. It's got some long-range damage, no indirect fire, but that's fine. Or no meaningful indirect fire, but that's fine because we've got that partisan heavy refit. And the big thing that this is leaning in is the big ol' heavy mechs with that medium range damage of 5. And I think that's really going to be where the bread and butter is in this list. I also like the mobility of that Drillson and the 2 J. Edgars. And I like my speed from my Martin VTOL, the 2 Swiftwinds, to be able to transport infantry around and get them onto, at least for not capture flag, bunkers and get them on there. We're going to go ahead and click over to our 250s and break those down next. All right, so here we go. We got our spreadsheet out and we're ready to break this bad boy down. 15 units, 350 point limit. We'll see here that we've got 346 points spent. It's in the red here. So we do have 4 extra points we could spend. So we could try to sneak something else in there. But first, what we want to do is go through our list and see if we have points available to fill. Now you see here, because so many of our mechs are leaning into that TMM2, we even got some 1s in there, and we've got quite a few 0s with that Tunnel Rat and Sniper. We see that our average TMM is quite low. It's almost 2, which I'm not super worried about because I know a lot of those zeros are dragging this number down. Our movement is averaging 12.7, which is decent. I like stuff to be a little faster, but again, that Tunnel Rat, those 2 snipers dragging that down, and even the Partisans dragging it down a bit, and the fact that we've got a Orion and some Chargers, we know that right here we've got this good block of speed between the J. Edgars, the Drillsons, the Martins, and then down here where the Swift One's got that movement of 22, which we love. All right, we've got a total of 32 potential shots across the whole list for medium range, which I think is pretty solid. And I was a little surprised we're bringing 80 total HP, but I think that's because our unit count's so high, and we do have quite a few like larger bodied like large mechs, right? But you'll see once we start building lists, almost every single one of these lists, if not all of them, have sub 60, like high 50s for their total HP, which makes me a little nervous about running this list. But I'm hoping that TMM on them larger mechs and the firepower kind of makes up for that. I mean, really, when you look at this list, it's like TMM4 and TMM2. I mean, there's a couple 3s and 1s, but the defense should be up. The ability to avoid fire should be up on this thing. So I think overall, like I'm pretty happy with these numbers. I'd like that maybe movement to be a little more, but I know I'm compromising or I'm sacrificing and making some changes because I'm trying to take these big mechs to form the core of my list. So we come over here, we see our usage. The Orion's running 7, the Charger 4, the Jingao is a 6, the Blackhawk is an 8, the Thunderer is a 7, the Martin's at 2, the Drillson's at 8, the J. Edgars are at 5 and 2. I made a note next to one of the J. Edgars, one of the J. Edgars, because I got points left over. Do I take another Drillson? I mean, I'd be losing speed, but I'd be picking up that body and those extra shots, so that might be an option. I'll have to see what our point spread is, if we could even squeeze that in there and make that change. Let's see what else. We've got the Partisan. It shows up 5 times. It's pretty good. The Tunnel Rat is 2, and that's because I'll spoiler alert, it's being ran in bunkers in King of the Hill, which is kind of a low-key sneaky move to drop this 4-point anti-mech assault bro onto the button in the middle and try to maybe steal a critical hit, right? The 2 snipers are only showing up 1 time each in bunkers, which I'm fine with. The Swiftwind scout cars are showing up 2 and 1 times in capture the flag and bunkers for 1, and the other one's only in capture the flag. But these units here, these kind of 4 that are in that 4-3-3-3-3, these infantry and the scout car, they would be good candidates to add on if we come up short, right? And so we would be looking at that. When you're looking at other things, that Martin's 11 points, I'm probably not going to end up that far down. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to be that short in a list. So that Martin's probably locked in there. He's really running, again, capture the flag and in bunkers, so we're fine with that. The Charger, I was surprised the Charger only showed up 4 times, but I think really what it came down to is that 45-point cost. It gets to be a bit too high, or it gets to be hard to plug him in, and you can trim, if you go from him to the Jingao or from him to the Thunder, you're trimming points here and there, and you just end up being able to squeeze him in a little more. And ultimately, if I had the choice between the Charger and the Blackhawk, because they're fairly similar, I want to take that Blackhawk because he's 6'5" instead of 4'5", and he's also Omni. So if I need to transport that Tunnel Rat, I have that option. But being energy and having 6'5", I just like it better than having case and being 4'5". So I oftentimes selected to run the Blackhawk over the Charger. Even though the Charger is an assault mech, it can punch a little higher, right? Because it's size 4 instead of size 3, and it brings a little more body. But in most of the lists where body's needed, the Charger's in there. So let's go down to our list. Stand up fight. So you'll notice here I got 7 units. that TMM is down below 2. I don't know what to say about that. That does worry me a little bit, but you know, I think that I will be okay. I think I'm dishing out 27 hit points, and that's going to make up for it. The HP is 57. Again, I think this is about as high as I go. I might have a 58 or 59 in there. I'm 3 points shy. I was shocked. I kind of missed this. So I was reviewing this before I did the video. I realized I was 3 points shy. And this is a good reason to review your list before you go. I'm ended up 3 points shy. So I'm actually going to add a Swiftwind Scout card to this list to take me right up to 250. And I can use that thing. I can use that thing to fly around to be an annoyance. And honestly, until they ban the suicide cruise missile, I'm just going to teach people a lesson with the Swiftwind Scout car. People always expect the skirmisher, but the Swiftwind is here to do some business this time. I really like how this one turned out. I really like that really high damage output of 27. I mean, I think that's the bread and butter here. The plan is to what I lack in speed, which isn't, in stand-up fight, you're not moving to objectives. You can dance around your backboard edge. And unless your opponent's got really solid long-range shots, like, kind of who cares? Like, you don't have to run up the board and engage your opponent. And I'm just going to try to knock them down with this 27 points of damage every turn. You got to be thinking like most of my lists, and I see a lot of other lists are running like I said, 20 to 25. So say the average is 22 and a half. Like, I'm running almost 5 more average shots per turn than they are. So right at 250, I think that's pretty good. Overrun. It's very similar. It's a little faster. You can see here it's 12 points of movement on average. It's bringing 84 to the table instead of up here at 68. Its TMM is a little higher. And so it's the exchange for me here was not to drop any health, but it was to drop a point of damage. And that's because I'm running the Orion, the Jingao, the Blackhawk, the Thunderer, Partisan, a Drillson, and a J. Edgar. I'm pretty happy with this. I think this will be good in overrun because, in that list, you need to have a little bit of mobility, but you also need to have some backline defense. And so the Partisan's going to provide that. I've got the Orion that can provide that backline defense. I got 3 mechs that can skirmish up into the mid board and challenge my opponent there. And then Drillson and J. Edgar, who can be my runners and my objective grabbers for kind of fast reaction and kind of take advantage of where my opponent's made some mistakes or once his lines get thin. So that the tactic here would be kind of, especially with the J. Edgar, is to hold him off and use him as a spoiler, right? Hold the line. I built this list, and I'm not sure that I like it. I built it to be a lot faster with more runners, but as you can see here, I've lost some health. I've lost some damage. So I'm not sure that I am going to keep this list the way it is. I could switch out the Charger for the Thunderer. That Thunderer is worth, let's go double check the points, 44 points. And that 44 points would shave 1 point off. I could plug him in there. The Thunderer, what else does the Thunderer bring to the game? It's a 5-5 mech, whereas this is a 4-5-3, or not, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one, 4-5-2. So I'm picking up that Thunderer's picking up an extra shot at short range. So that might be worth thinking of doing. But I might also mirror this overrun list. I think there's plenty of speed here with the Drillson and J. Edgar. This is really leaning into these J. Edgars and these the Swiftwind Scout car a little much. And I just don't know if between everything else I have the shots. I mean, I clearly have the shots. 24 is a very good number of shots, but I could potentially be up at 26. So this would be a sub list that I might consider mirroring or tweaking. So I've identified that. It also is starting to get pretty low at the 56. I know it doesn't seem like that from 57, but 56 starts to get outside of my range of comfortability a little bit more. Headhunter, 7 units being brought to that. This is the Orion, the Jingao, the Blackhawk, the Thunderer, the Partisan, the Drillson, and the J. Edgar. I am pretty happy with this list. I kind of wish I had the Charger in there. I think he might do a little bit better. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. You got jump, right? No, the Thunderer doesn't. But your short range damage is 5. It's really a glass half full, glass half empty. It is 26 damage, which is pretty nice. 57 again, and it's got decent mobility. As far as mobility goes, I'm either going to put it on my fast stuff and hide it, or I'm going to put it on my heavier stuff, right? The problem with putting it on the heavier stuff is that, your opponent is going to be able to see it better. The TMM isn't as high, but it has more body to get through. I might do a combination. I might say do the Blackhawk and then do the J. Edgar, right? So the J. Edgar can be sneaky and hide while he's also running around and grabbing the heads that fall. That might be where I take that one. But I've identified a couple units that I might try to put in there. I see the Blackhawk, basically I've locked him in his CO, and it's just a matter of choosing one of these other three. Domination, 7 units again. The Orion, the Jingal, the Blackhawk, the Thunder, the Partisan, the Drillson, and the J. Edgar. See a theme here? It's a pretty popular build, I think, for myself. Same stats all the way down. I like this in Domination because I've got a solid 20-point base of fire on my kind of the midboard and my backboard, so I can hold my 2 back objectives, cover the center, possibly bait my opponent into moving into the center with that weight of firepower. In fact, I'd even include the Partisan in there, so 23 points of damage. With that weight of firepower is bait them into the center, clear them off the center, move up, take the center, and then use the Drillson and J. Edgar, protect them, and move them strategically to take a 4th objective in my opponent's backfield. That Drillson J. Edgar hunting party combo is it is the bee's knees, as they say. I really like that. Either running a Maxim with a J. Edgar or Drillson with a J. Edgar. They complement each other really well because of their speed, their kind of blend of speed, firepower. Think of this as, is a really good hunting party. I'll just put it that way. If you haven't ran, running 2 Drillsons sounds great. It could be great, but having that extra boost of speed from the J. Edgar to get around, to outmaneuver, to be able to jump on things can be really effective, and running them together in tandem so they can cover each other is really cool. And I really like them in Domination. I've found myself, like I said, a Maxim or a Drillson or a Condor paired up with this MG J. Edgar has been really rewarding. I'll put it that way. Capture the Flag, 57 hit points again. So, like I said, 57 is about the max I go. Now, you'll see that the total damage that this thing is doing is 22, although a lot of this stuff is pretty fast. And so, and Capture the Flag really, because everything's so fast, you engage a lot of targets at that short range. So you could look at it as 25. I think that's perfectly reasonable to look at. Now, you see here, my TMM is all the way up to almost 3. So it's quite a bit more dodgy, right, than the rest of my list, and the movement on average is over 16 points, which is great. Now, the capture the flag, the center point from your board edge is 21 inches away, and you'll see here I have 1, 2, 3, 4 units that could potentially be on the flag. Actually, 5, because I forgot about the Martin here. 5 units that can be on the flag's turn 1, and then you also have the Drillson, which is basically right there. So I like this quite a bit. The 2 Swift Winds, the Drillson, the Partisan for providing long-range covering fire, 2 J. Edgars, the Blackhawk, Thunder, and Orion. Those are going to be moving up to the midboard to cover the objectives, to try to clear stuff up, and they have the good weight of fire to be able to do that. I've got some flak in there, 2 flak to clear any VTOLs off. And then I have a VTOL that can also move and capture flags and things like that. And for 249, so I'm basically maxed out in my points again. I don't have a lot of points to give in these lists. I was pretty impressed that most of them came in at like 249, 250. 22 damage is a little low for this list, I think, but it's well within our 20 to 25 goal. So I'm pretty happy. And 10 activations and capture the flag is really key, right? Because you have that weight of activations. You can kind of play the initiative sync game and out activate your opponent in many ways. Bunkers. I ended up really liking my bunkers list. It might be total garbage, and we won't know until we play in the tournament, and if bunkers comes up. But I essentially have 3 strike teams in this, correct? No, only 2 strike teams. So I've got the 2 snipers. I got a Martin and Swiftwind. They're going to be riding in those, right? So we're pretty happy about that. I will be very cagey and holding them back. And what I mean by that is I'm gonna kind of hide them in the backfield because I'm so fast. Wait till I clear my opponent off of their bunkers and then move them in. If I wanted to, I could drop the Martin, although I like that speed. I really like that extra speed from the Martin. I could drop the Martin, put the other Swiftwind in, and then add the exoskeleton to this list, and then put the exoskeleton on the Blackhawk, and then that would get me. I'd come up shy quite a few points, but it would get me it'd get me that extra infantry, so I'd have just another strike team. And then what I'd probably do is the Blackhawk would go for that center. His primary focus is going to be going for that center bunker, while the Martin and the Swiftwind, or actually the two other Swiftwinds and the snipers, would be held back to go after the back two bunkers. So this one has a lot of flexibility. I also like that it actually gets up to 58. It's got 25 hit points, but it is on the slower side. It's only averaging 11, but that's because I've got quite a bit of infantry and stuff in here. So we're good with that. The last list is King of the Hill, 7 units. I got its CMM is low. Its body's 57 again, but it's got 27 damage at medium range, which is pretty awesome. I like that quite a bit. It came out 3 points shy, so I'm going to add a Swiftwind as well. I caught that as I was reviewing my list. And it's got good size at 19. And what I also like about this is I'm not relying on my partisan or something that's really big and slow that's got to sit in my backfield who's not going to be putting weight on the button. So every piece of weight in this list should be and can be on the button within a reasonable amount of time. I've got the Drillson to get there early, and then my heavy mechs that move 10 should be there by the end of turn, at least the end of turn 2, right? Or several of them can be there, and by turn 3, everything should be on the button. So I'm really excited for this list. Maybe in this bunkers list, if I decide to swap out that Martin for the Swiftwind, and then add that exoskeleton, those points that I have freed up here at the 4 points here at 346, maybe I can find something for 4 points that I can add into that list to kind of round things out. We'll just have to see. I am really excited for this list. I'm really excited for Adepticon. I hope you guys are able to make it. If you are, come stop by, say hi to the Wolfnet crew, the Minnesota crew. There'll be a Wisconsin crew, I'm sure. There's always an Iowa crew and a Michigan crew. If the Indiana crew's there, if the Colorado crew's there, if the Florida crew's there, there's a whole bunch of people coming from all over. Stop in, say hi, check out the armies. I hope you're playing in it. If you're not playing in it, that's all right. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think of this list. And may the blessings of Blake be up.